Hello, Attack on Titan fans. I believe this is a re-release of a previous figure. It's Figma number 213, and it's Levi from Attack on Titan. If you haven't seen Attack on Titan, you really gotta watch the first season of it. It's free on billybilly.tv, so I recommend you check it out. It's awesome. It's a crazy story, and I really think it'd make a great movie by a big Western director like James Cameron or Zack Snyder or something like that. Before I even go and open the thing, I should show you the rest of the box, right? There are fake copies of this thing you can get for like 15 bucks, but I find that the fake copies, all the parts don't fit well, and the paint is missing or just really poorly done compared to the real deal. So a bunch of legalese back here. And on the real one, there's a sticker, or no, that's not a sticker, that's part of the box. So this Kodansha owns Attack on Titan. They're the publication house. On the bottom, that. Okay, top that. Why would there be a little cardboard box cut out? There isn't even a bottom to it. Is that supposed to be a stand? I guess it's a nice way to have use of the cardboard, but I think it would be nicer if there was like a graphic printed there, like of grass or, you know, a building or something as a background, like the whole thing. So it's interesting. D-stage. So back here we have a blister pack. Tape. Pleasantly no tape. Alright, we got the cape back here, part of the peg stand, I guess, a jet burst effect, and some grappling wire effects, and some plastic to keep them from getting scratched up when shipping. And then the main blister. So we have the vertical maneuver gear, piece of plastic from getting scratched. Levi figure here. And there's some more plastic to keep his head from getting scratched. You can do that later, I guess. There's a baggie to keep all the extra parts. So that's nice. And then there's a stand and some extra wires, or it looks like ropes, and more parts of the stand. There's a little blister here on the swords, and the head and the smoke effects there just fell out. Let's get everything out of the bags first. So even though it came with 8 extra hands, there's 2 more in here, and an extra hand peg, which is really nice, and an extra part of a stand. And then the figure itself also has 2 hands already on it. So a lot of hand options there, and I like the spare part idea, because these things are pretty small. What do we have here? Alright, so that's what you should get in the package. And then where all the parts go. So that's the Japanese side, and we have an English side as well. So let's just leave that there. Let's open this thing up as well. Since I'm afraid to use the scissors, I'm afraid I'll just cut right through that string. Okay. Let's get the stand out of the way. Actually, let me get a different angle here. So this is a typical Figma stand. A real Figma product would have Figma molded into the stand. The copycats is just blank, so that's a easy tell for the copycat. And, you know, they're not the best stands in the world. They're just, but I guess it's better than not having any stand. Anyways, so you can tighten the screws if you want, but this plastic, you know, it cracks pretty easily, so keep that in mind. Put that aside for now. Put this aside for now. So there's two hooks here, and then there's strings that have these little black plastic ends. So I'm gonna guess you can actually hang this guy by the strings, which is kind of neat. In the cartoons show, you know, they maneuver with these like jet-powered cable launchers, cable system. All right, let's look at this cape. So the cape has a nice tampo print of the Survey Corps logo, and it's gray, white, and blue. And then the cape itself is it's a relatively soft PVC, I imagine. It looks like there might be some airbrushing for darkness, or maybe not. I don't know. It's just there's so much dimensionality. There's a lot of darkness in the folds. I cannot say for sure, but it looks really three-dimensional as it is. And then here we have a little raised bump with a little silver paint for the pin. There's a clear bit here, so I'm guessing the stand pegs into that. Right, so it would go right in there and probably into the back of the figure. Okay, let's go about these faces. So we have a pretty angry looking to the side look. He's got blue pupils, and then the teeth are clenched. It's a pretty good mold of a angry face. This one, he's just got a, you know, stoic, is it? Just plain face. And for some reason, the top of the head is really brown, whereas the bottom is not. I don't know why that would be the case, but it's clearly done on purpose, because this one's totally normal looking. I don't know. Strange. Okay, some jet thruster, puffy details here. Although these I'm going to have to figure out with the instructions where they go, because clearly they wrap around something. And this one looks like it goes on a peg, and yeah, maybe it goes on the back of the little jet pack there. But it's got a nice, you know, three-dimensionality to it. Seems to be one paint app though. I was thinking it might be shaded, but I don't think it's shaded. It's just translucent. It's just passing light. Okay, so these two extra hands here. We have, yeah, the grippy hands, I guess. But you'll notice the grip is a little unique because the weapon systems there are unique. I'm not sure if they're meant to fit these hands. Let's try. Maybe not, because the triggers have a separator, but those fingers are clearly together. So I'm not sure what these are meant to hold. And then the normal hands. See, these look like the trigger hands. Yeah, because the fingers are separated. I'm trying to see if you can actually get the fingers inside those trigger holes. Yes, you can, so that's pretty nice. Alright, so you got two hands for the holding the blades, two holding like pole hands, two somewhat open hands, and then two wavy hands. Alright, so that's a pretty good mix of hands. But in particular, it's smart that they molded them specifically to hold the weaponry. And speaking of said weaponry, pretty nice detail here. So here in the grip area, yeah, it's got the clutch lever or whatever, a brake lever. It's in silver, but the rest of the handle is like a metallic gunmetal. And I think actually, yeah, I think I'm seeing it. Hold on, where's the dental pick? I think the body is like a gunmetal gray, but I think on the grips themselves it's like a metallic purple. hopefully you can see the color difference. It's very faint, but I can see that this is purplish to it, and that's just regular gunmetal. So there's some grooves in the blades, because it's kind of like a retractable knife, and these things break off the segments. Okay, so obviously there's two of those. Are they mirror images on both sides? No, they're not. They're actually asymmetric. So on this side, you have like these little two grooves. If you can see, yeah, two grooves. But on this side, you can see there's a hose running for this brake or clutch, or whatever that thing is. Okay, so two clear bits, some sort of extensions for the stand, or yeah, oh, a third bit. So these two are identical. Two of those. We'll figure out what those go to later. Yeah, the two launching hooks. So these are shoot out and then they go into walls and they grab the walls and stuff like that. And it seems to be plastic, so I think if you bent that, it would snap in half. So be mindful of that. It's not a wire, it's plastic. Alright, here's that spare hand peg, and it's a hinge and two pegs to go into each side. One in the hand, one in the forearm. One has, this is just smooth. This one has a little ledge to it. Hopefully it focused there. The vertical maneuver gear. So this snaps onto the harness, and if you haven't watched Attack on Titan, what happens is, you know, these canisters are holding air, and that's what shoots out those little hooks into the walls, and then these are retracting things that spool the wires, and they basically zip line around different walls and trees and all that stuff. So looking at this main part here, this box, it holds 3 extra blades. The blades themselves are pretty, the hilts are nice, you know, you got some recessed dots in there, and then each blade hilt is separate. It's not like one piece of plastic, there's 3. Unfortunately, there's no extra hole there. It would look nice if there was a hole, so it looked like the blade was pulled out already, and that's what's in the person's hands. Some sort of like coil or a winding spring mechanism, I'm not sure. And then some brackets to hold the box holding the blades to the cylinder holding the air. And there's a really nice cylinder. There's 2 little end, probably security bolts, and it's a silver. This is like a gunmetal, and there's not much of a seam. There's a little bit of a seam visible, but not much under the paint, that is. And then you'll see there's a valve. One would operate with a hand. On this side there's a flexible hose, and then on the back side there's a little difference here. It's not the same as the other side. Some sort of square adjustment for the straps here. So I'm gonna guess like this peg would move in between here to adjust to different people. There is a ball peg here, and that's what's probably gonna peg into the leg of the figure. And there's a slotted end as well. Okay, so there's a strap, a suspension strap here. It's loose, of course. And then these hoses run into this central part here. And the central part, you have, I'm going to guess they're gas-powered retracting spools. And the hose goes from that spool out to here. And this is where those spikes shoot out. And then these go to the handles that have the brake levers or the clutch levers. So this little segment back here is a jet thruster. You'll see in the cartoon air gets shot out here, and it kind of helps jet thrust them around. So there's a peg that goes into the character as well. And it would seem that this thing is replaceable. You know, we might as well do it now. It's pretty tight in there though, this piece. I'm afraid, oh, there's a notch opening here. So it would probably make sense if you had like a pry tool. I have a bunch of phone pry tools here. Get this under there. Boy, it's still tight though. I'm gonna have to check the instructions. Maybe it twists. Oh, that might be it. It's weird. I'm looking at the instructions here, and it just says lift off, but it's not easy to lift off. I gotta get a different pry tool in there. This is too thick. It's slowly coming out. Alright, so yeah, be mindful of that. That's a pretty big peg. And so anyways, yeah, so if you want to simulate the jet thrusting working, that's how you do it. Then, oh, I see. Then the stand can go into this. Okay, but we'll display that later. We'll just leave this off now because I want to see it with this thing on later. All right, let's get to Levi himself. Oh, there's another peg like this. We'll have to see where that belongs later. All right, so Levi here. We got the nice stock face here. He looks a little bit annoyed, and he seems to be in that fashion in the cartoon quite often. The eyes are nicely done, you know, blue pupils, really thin eyelashes. Yeah, it's just a nicely done face. I mean, look at my fingertip, right? I could never paint that myself. So this head must come off because there's a piece of plastic here, and you probably have to change out the face plates too. Okay, well, there's that protective plastic. So there's a peg here, and it's bigger than the spare one. I don't know, I guess the hair must come off first. Yeah, alright, so if you want to swap out the hair, I mean the faces, you're going to have to take the hair off first, and then you saw his face drop there, right? Where's that angry face? And then again, why is this? These are similar, but he's like looking down. Oh, so I guess because his eyes are looking down, maybe his head is in shadow, and that's why they may have painted this brown on top of on the forehead there. Well, let's do that one quickly. The shape doesn't want to really fit very freely. That face was well, there was a snapping noise. See, so I guess if your head is down that way, it helps make him look sad or something. Well, anyways, I don't like it. I'm gonna swap to this crazy face because I think that'll be good for a dynamic pose. Let's see if crazy face fits on easily. No snap on that one, just friction fit. Okay, yeah, that's pretty angry and crazy. I like that one. Alright, so the hair, it's a matte finish, it's not glossy. Maybe it's a satin finish. Decent enough sculpting. As to why the bottom of the hair is like gray versus black on top, I don't know. It looks like this is literally a different paint color than up here. Anyways, there's a hinge here, and then going into the top of the head, there's a ball, and it's a staggered 45-degree angle. So I'm gonna guess that's to get really crazy head poses. So in fact, let's see. It's just normal, and then here, well, the head collides with the neck, so that's not so great. And then the chin collides with the neck as well. So not much up and down movement, unless you maybe pull the peg out a little bit. But then you start seeing the ball. So I don't know. I'm not sure why they went about putting that 45-degree thing. Oh, it's probably because they have to swap out the faces. Yeah, that must be the excuse. Okay, but obviously you can rotate the head around and all that stuff, and you can get a little bit of side-to-side action there. So you'll see this neck handkerchief, scarf, I guess. That thing is a separate piece, and it swivels a little bit as you move it. So there's a little piece of plastic protecting the torso. Unfortunately, it's better just pull it off. It's really stuck in there. I see. This might be a separate, yeah, that's a separate peg. It's a ball peg down in there. So you can see the ball peg moving there, and then obviously you'll have it at the top as well. Okay, so yeah, ab crunch, pretty, well, not that great. Back is okay. Yeah, not the greatest, to be honest with you. Side to side, not the greatest either. Okay, let's go into the details of this jacket. We have a nice Cervicor logo there, and then some silver painted for the buttons, a little button up there, but too much paint back here, kind of a sloppy paint tab right there. And then the back of the jacket, we got the peg hole. There's also a peg hole down here, but that's for the vertical sport gear to probably peg into. And the Cervicor thing here and on the side, they're tampo printed very nice, very crisp. The copycat of this thing has I don't think they have paint. The jacket looks glossy, and also the hinges here in the copycat are much lighter plastic, so that's another way you can see if you bought a copycat or not. This real deal, although it's not exactly the same brown as this, is closer than the copycat. Alright, there's a ball hinge here, and so that thing will swivel around. Yeah. And then the elbow is a hinge, of course. So you get a little more than 90 degrees. Pretty good, I guess, before it collides with itself. And I'm sure you can spin it too. Yep, you can spin it around. And then the hand. Yeah, we already saw the joint. There's a peg up there. And the one with the ridge is actually going into the hand. So this fist here, I don't think we need that. What we need is those ones holding the swords. So it's cool that they give you this little, hand organizer. Because when you start collecting multiple figures, things just get thrown in a bag. Well, they do give you a bag though. Alright, so let's get rid of this hand too, because we're not going to pose them with that. So being a hinge and a ball, you can twist it around to get pretty much any angle you want. Okay, so the bottom here, no movement for this. This is pretty soft. This, what would this be called? A tunic? I'm not sure. A skirt? It seems like Levi's wearing a skirt. Alright. So up in the leg here, we have a ball peg. I think those are joined. But I don't think they swivel up and down. I don't think this is a drop down feature. No, that's just rigid, it seems. There's also a piece of plastic here. I'm wondering if this thing comes out, yeah? Alright, so you can obviously see a hinge and it's around, so you can, twist the lower leg, get some different angles there. So you'll see, nicely painted straps on the legs. The copycat, you can clearly see they're much sloppier with the paint apps. And the legs are like a matte finish. All this white cloth they're mimicking is not glossy, it's matte finish, so that's cool. There's a little silver here for the buckles on the straps there. But not back here. Alright. So then these little high boots, no additional shading, it just seems to be one brown color, and the hinge is not the exact same color, but it's still brown at least. And then the shoes are the same color, but the soles are black, and they have a tread pattern there. And then there's a little, well, that one's stuck. It seems like there's a toe hinge. You can see that dot. This one did. It seems okay. Yeah, all right. You just gotta break it loose. All right. So yeah, you can swivel, and you got the hinge for the foot. So. Yeah, and this foot peg here has a stagger to it, so you would be able to get some rocker like that, I think. Right? That's what I was trying to figure out. Now that I know it can be done, yeah, you can rocker and get some side stancing. Pretty nice. Okay. So he's a pretty skinny character. Let's try to get this vertical maneuver gear on the character. So naturally, we have a metal harness, you know, on this strap system, and that's where this peg must go. But there's also 2 pegs here, so it's a really secure mount. So I'm going to put this one in first. And then I'll put the side peg in. That side's in. That one's a much tighter fit. Doesn't seem to want to go in like the other side. I may have pushed this back peg in too far. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get that peg all the way into the silver paint, because then these things would be too far forward, these pegs. So it seems like there's just not enough silver paint on that peg that's going into the middle of the back. Well, I guess that's it. I guess that's tight enough. Alright. So now, yeah, these little pegs here with the pivots, the ball pivots, they go into the thigh. And yeah, there is a slot shape in that thigh I'm seeing. Trying to wiggle it in there. Okay, so yeah, you can maneuver this thing up, down, in and out, pretty much a few degrees in every direction, so that's cool. Alright, so same on that side. Essentially, you just wanted so the straps, you know, become taut. Unless, I suppose in a really dynamic pose, they could be bent, right? Because they would move. They would have a lot of mass in real life. Granted, this is a cartoon show, so we don't know. Alright, it's interesting that there's nothing to cover this up. There's no, like, brown peg. So I guess the only way to really cover that up is to put the cape on. So that's quite a horizontal cape. Alright, I'm gonna put that jetpack thruster effect there. And then I guess we gotta put on the stand. And this long peg goes through the cape. Try to get those holes aligned. Alright, so I think that went in, well, it's not fully in the body there. This is a pretty heavy figure. I don't think it's gonna, this stand, see, is gonna hold it very long. No, it won't hold it there. Let me tighten this screw up. That's pretty tight. Alright, so I am curious. No, those are the same length. But maybe it'll be helpful if I just put this one into the figure first, and then I'll put the stand into that after. I'm trying to bottom out this peg into the body though. It doesn't seem to want to do it. It might be easier also to pull the torso apart and do this, but then it might be hard to put it back on, so I'm not sure. Alright, that seems to be as far in as I can get it. Well, so far it's holding. So let's try to get a pose out of him right now before I add the swords and stuff. So the side skirt obviously gets in the way of getting the legs really spread apart. So yeah, that's not it's gonna be tough to get a really crazy dynamic pose, it seems. But maybe I'll just do this leg out straight, maybe this one bent back or something like that. And then because he doesn't have much of an ab crunch, that's also getting in the way of a super dynamic pose. See? And because the head now it's actually being blocked by the cape, he can't lean his head back much. So that's too bad. Alright, so these things go into the hilts of the blade trigger clutch brake system. Maybe I'll do that after, because I probably want to slide the handle into the hand first, or just do it off the character. And then I'm going to twist this handle. Yeah, twist so the fingers get in there, and pop that on, or put the cable on, and then pop it on his hand. Alright, let's do the same over here. Slide it in. Oh, that's the wrong hand. Where is the actual other hand that has the open fingers? That's the tight one. This is also the closed one. Oh, I already put it on the figure. I'm a moron, sorry. Well, that hand doesn't want to come off, so let's do it on the figure. Alright. Getting there. And then the last bit would be these little shooting prongs, and they're just friction fit into those holes there. That one went pretty far. This one did not. So there's some sort of tightness issue with this first one I put in. Maybe too much paint. Yeah, so I think this one might have too much paint. I'm looking at see if there's anything wrong with the mold. I don't see anything. I'm gonna have to scrape some paint off. Well, I'll do it later. You get the idea. So let's just look at these. So again, these stands, not the best. See if I'm missing anything here. Oh, I see. So those other hands are to hold the knife backwards. So that actually might be worth doing. So I'm going to disconnect that, take that out. I'm going to use that spare one. So putting this in backwards, it does seem to work. The two back fingers do fit inside those recesses, more or less. Alright. Let's see if there's anything else I'm missing. The cables, those would, alright, they just pop and replace those, so we'll try that afterwards. Seems like we got everything else in there. Oh, except what are those little frosty bits for? Still curious what this is for. Oh, it's to cover up that joint, I see. Let me get a different angle here. I'm gonna close this out, it's too distracting. So let's get this thing spinning, just to see what it looks like in this option mode. Yeah, it's not bad. It's pretty good, actually. I like it. Still have no idea what these bits are for. I mean, you got... Yeah, I don't know. Strange. What would these be for? One's just flat, and the other one has a peg on the back. Alright. So the next thing is these, hanging it as if it actually, these things actually did go into a wall or a tree, and then it's being used to suspend Levi through it, flying around. So I gotta take this out. Man, look at that, they didn't break. Yeah, this one's super tight. Alright, reading the instructions, I figured out what some of those other pieces were. For some reason, you might want to put this peg into this thing that holds the string. Maybe this thing goes into other stands then. Or like a wooden wall. If you make a diorama, if you're going to make a diorama, you don't want to have this stuck into the diorama wall, right? But you could easily drill a hole, stick this into the diorama wall, and have them hanging there. So that's actually really smart. I do feel you probably have to glue this because it is kind of, it's a bit loose. But for today, I'm just going to hang it off the photo booth here, and this one is a much tighter fit. So I'm going to take this piece here and cover it with this piece. The knot's on the bottom, and so is that little round part of the hole. So I guess that's what I want to do. I want to have the knot on the bottom. Go into that. Like that. And then where's the other one? The knot on the bottom. Alright, now cover it up. So the instructions were right with the knot on the bottom because the string has to come out of this section here. Maybe I can't tell on my phone screen. If you flip this black piece upside down, the string won't be able to come out. So you gotta do it the way the instructions did it. But I do feel this entire system is so poorly designed because you can still see this, right? It would have just made sense to make this white plastic piece go over the entire thing, like a cylinder going over this entire front end, and then have a hole in it, and then just have the string, you know, glued to the hole, like the knot, right? I don't know why this side is open. It just doesn't make sense to me. So part of the molding process maybe, but it's not very appealing to look at. You know, it helps from the side view, but then you just see the other side and you're like, what is that? That doesn't make sense. Alright, so I can take the stand off, and let me see if I can hang this guy up. Alright, well, I got the two strings hanging off the LED above us, but you still need the stand, because if you don't, it's so back heavy, you know, if I take the stand out, right, it's just gonna do like that. So something needs to keep the guy in position. Alright, so something needs to attach to the foot or something if you want to actually have the guy hanging. There's no way you're going to balance the guy in the middle because the points are in front of the person. So if the points were like back in the middle of the person, there's a possibility you could balance it. But the way it is now, there's just no way it's going to happen. So it's an interesting little gimmick that they added. I think for a diorama, again, if you place the person's foot against a wall, then yes, it could work. Alright, so, but I will not be doing that myself. Well, that's the position I'm gonna keep this figure in. Just, yeah, alright. I'm gonna compare it to a few other things. My very first and only other Figma is this machine gun girl. Granted, this girl did not come with a Gatling gun. I bought this Gatling gun separately off eBay. I'm just looking up what this thing is. This is SP-111, and it's called Ina Toyosaki. If you want to look it up, look up Figma 111, and you'll find this character. But, yeah, it's alright. It's just another cartoon character, but she's wearing military camo, so I thought it was kind of cool. I'll just leave it back there. Plastic figure-wise, if you're new to collecting 6-inch or 12 scale stuff, here's a comparison of some Boba Fett's. And, sorry, these little prongs are just problematic as far as comparing. I'll do a quick comparison here. This is by SH Figure Arts. It's very clean. So it's not as good as the Mafex. Mafex just re-released this, so you can pick it up still for a relatively decent price. And it just looks like a weathered Boba Fett. And simply the detail, different folds and stuff. This is a lot smoother, more cartoon-like. So if you had to buy one Boba Fett right now, Mafex is the one to get. I don't have space because this figure is so unique. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is a cloth figure. And this is by Damn Toys. Boy. So this is the problem, Figma. If you have a figure this wide, you need to have a base wide, that wide or wider than the figure. You can't make stands with a base narrower than the weight above it. So it's just not a good stand. It's really bad. Anyways, back to this cloth figure. So cloth is just better. I mean, it looks more realistic, right? So I just bought this because it was cheap. It's not because I'm a Nazi, but it's got, yeah, great detail. You know, granted this is plastic here, but it does look like leather. So Damn Toys makes awesome stuff. They're 12 scale. action weapons are fantastic as well. Okay, so let me reposition this now. Get this figure out of here. Even this little figure is falling over, and she's tiny. It's just not a good base. Almost all bases for all action figures are horrible. I don't know what the problem is. Why is it like no one could just make a good base for these things? Just make a wide base, really. In fact, looking at this figure, the base of this figure should be as wide as this entire black circle. And the peg should be right in the middle. And then there's no way the weight could, you know, knock it over. So anyways, just a random gripe. So it seems like some of the gimmicks in this particular Figma, it's nice that they threw them in there, but they don't really work very well. So I'm also noticing like the peg hole for this particular part, it wants to pop out a lot. So I'm not sure if I'll crazy glue that in there later or what. But this one actually has a lot of parts, and in particular the detailing is really crisp and tight. You know, the individual blade tangs and everything is just tightly done. So I like it. It's really cool. And so again, as a reminder, go watch Attack on Titan. At least the first season. It's pretty crazy. But not if you're a little kid, because there's a lot of death and goriness going on there. But it's an interesting story. Thank you for watching, and I still have to review the Mikasa from Figma in this franchise, Levi Ackerman. I don't think they're brothers and sisters. They both have the same last name in the cartoon, but I don't know. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next review of an action figure. Bye.